Hi, welcome back to Gabe's Review Show. Today we're speaking about Paradise Rot by Jenny Hval. I was previously familiar with Jenny Hval through her music, and I actually discovered this book on sort of a bargain table at Barnes& Noble, which is where I have found a lot of very, very good books that I quite enjoy. Um, I read this book, um, and its story quite impacted me at the beginning because I thought it would run parallel with very personal situations that I'm living through. Um, and overall, I think I'd give this book 4 stars, 3.5. I'd give it 3.5. I'm gonna give this book 3.5, simply because it really did not live up to the expectations which I imposed upon it. And I think that I do believe that that's a valid thing. I want you all to understand that Gabe's review, a very simple aspect of Gabe's review show, is the fact that perhaps Gabe misunderstood the book, but we're sort of like sat down for this tale of sexual exploration and maturity through our protagonist, and I really don't think anything comes of it. Um, we have, I guess, one of really none of it doesn't, we don't have any of it through any of the characters. One of which you could say perhaps Pim. Pim is perhaps both the best and the worst example. Pim, you know, you're introduced to Pim and you think, wow, this guy is incredibly superficial and quite horrible. But we're offered this possible redemption in the fact that he keeps saying like, oh, I wrote this poem about you to the protagonist, like, oh, I wrote you this poem, and then at the end you read the poem and you realize like, no, he really just is that shallow and that superficial. And there's a very much there's a strong like undercurrent of humor in that I found was very funny, that Pim is simply just a bad person. But this like auto-conclusive nature to all of the characters, I think, is also the book's weakness. While Pim is obviously a comedic character and it works in his favor, um, the with Joanna or with Carol, it's maybe just not really that interesting to read about these people that by the end of the book really do seem like they're in the exact same position where they started. Um, and I think that's because Joanna is you're meant to apply like personal logic to the story in order to derive meaning from the metaphor. You're supposed to bring in like personal experience to get something out of this book, and that's what I did. And I think that's why I'm disappointed in the book, um, because I really didn't see the other end of it. I don't think I learned anything from it. Um, Despite the fact that I feel that I'm going through a very similar personal situation as the protagonist in this book. Um, and I almost was hoping that the book would tell me what to expect, like, or what was going to happen in my version of events. And at the end, she's the same person, but just she's lived through more, I guess you could say. That's not exactly the most like interesting a possible turn of events. Um, I guess I just wish perhaps the evolution was stronger in the two female protagonists. Um, I also thought it was interesting. This like consistent metaphor that Jenny Hval explores of apples that have like rolled around their apartment and are just rotting in different corners. Which, by the way, I thought was disgusting. Like, pick up your apples. But while I guess it's meant to be like a story of sexual maturity and apples and fruit mature as they ripen, rather than the process of ripening, I guess the story is represented with the process of decomposition. Like we're on the butt end of the events, and so I guess it feels like the ending of the story is simply the situation ends and one walks away from it. I thought it was a little lackluster there. All right, thank you.